Mario Fan 1300 asks, do you think the Nintendo star characters like Mario, Link, Star Fox, and Kirby will ever be replaced by other characters? I don't think they will because Nintendo looks to their main star characters to get certain franchises rolling. Mario obviously appeals to all ages. There's definitely a very strong Zelda franchise following, and there's some big, strong followings of Star Fox, Kirby, Metroid as well. And if you look at Brawl, I mean, none of the main characters really dropped from their rosters. Some characters even got more added from their franchise, so I don't think Nintendo really has any plans to retire any of those characters. I will agree, though, that some of them are getting pushed aside. Like, if you look at Star Fox and Kirby, it's been, maybe a few years since Kirby's last game. It was on the DS. And we haven't seen Kirby on a console since Air Ride, which was back in 2003. And you could almost say the same thing for Star Fox, because Star Fox Command was the last Star Fox game, and Assault was the last console game. And that's been like 5 or 6 years. So it has been a while since we've seen some of those main franchise characters, and they definitely need to make a comeback for the Wii because we really don't want to lose those games. So I really hope Nintendo takes that into consideration. True Sonic Fan 1 asks, are you interested in the Sonic franchise? If you are, what's your favorite game in the series? I do like the old school Sonic games, like Sonic the Hedgehog series for the Genesis. I really love those games. And I especially loved Sonic 3 and Knuckles, where you combined Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, and you got like a longer adventure combining the two games. I thought that was always amazing. And I just loved going through both of those games at once, so that was really cool. As for modern Sonic, I love Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. I thought that was a really great game. And I also like Sonic Heroes to an extent, but for any of the other games, I'm not really interested in getting them, and from what I have played of them, I didn't like them at all. So, yeah, definitely more of a old school Sonic fan, but I think the newer modern games have made some strides, just not as much as I'd like them to. Chidoris asks, where do you think the Sonic the Hedgehog series went bad for the general public? A lot of people consider the 3D games, like after the Adventure series, they consider that the fall of Sonic. I don't know, it's hard to say. Heroes, although I kind of liked Heroes, it was definitely a step down after how good Adventure 2 was. But, I don't know, I thought the Sonic the Hedgehog 2000 was kind of a pointless game. Maybe not pointless, but it was definitely a game I wasn't interested in. And then the Secret Rings and Shadow the Hedgehog, that was definitely where the where it started going down for me as far as interest is concerned. So yeah, I don't know. Definitely after the adventure games. Master of Anything asks, what do you think of the Metal Gear series? To be honest, I don't have any of the Metal Gear games, but I have played a few of the games, and I've watched a lot of people play some of the games. And I have to say, the Metal Gear franchise is epic. It's one of the best series of video games that's in existence to this day. I don't rank the games very high because I haven't played very many of them. And from the ones I have played, I haven't played very much of them. But from what I've seen, they're very good games. If you're into the stealth genre, I definitely recommend Metal Gear. It's a really great game. Triforce/98 asks, are you a fan of Final Fantasy? I've played a few Final Fantasy games. I've played Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 3, also known as Final Fantasy 6, but the third North American game. And I've also played Final Fantasy 7. I've only played Final Fantasy 7 all the way through. I've just played little bits of Final Fantasy 1 and 3. I haven't played all the way through them. But I definitely played through 7. I wouldn't say I'm a fan of the series, but I do like the games I have played. But you can't really call me a die-hard fan of the series, though, because I don't know every little thing about it. And from the games I do have and I have played, I'm not an expert of those games by any means. So, yeah. Eldiz123 asks, what do you think of the Final Fantasy games? Well, from what I've played of the Final Fantasy games, they're pretty good. And from what I've seen of the games, they're pretty good. I mean, they're obviously solid titles because there is a huge Final Fantasy fan base. No denying that. And they have a huge crowd of supporters. But sometimes I think that when people say RPGs, like, the majority of the people will think Final Fantasy, and there are a lot of great RPGs out there. A lot of great RPGs that often get overlooked because Final Fantasy is so popular and so big. But I guess you can kind of say it makes sense. I mean, Final Fantasy has, what, over, like, 20 games now? Uh, Obviously not in the numbered series. I'm counting, like, Final Fantasy Tactics and all the spin-offs of other games and of, like, the Game Boy games and stuff like that. It definitely does get overlooked. Other games definitely get overlooked because of Final Fantasy, and it has established itself as a major franchise for almost 20 years now. But there are some other RPGs out there, and probably some RPGs I even prefer more than Final Fantasy, but for the most part, I'd say Final Fantasy is a good series. Maru Derricks asks, how do you feel about the current generation of video games consoles versus the older generations? I'm a little biased to the 16 and 32-bit eras because I grew up in those eras. I got the majority of my video games through those eras. I got into video games in those eras, so definitely some strong feelings and attachments to those games. But I don't think the future, like the Wii, for example, I don't think that system is doing any worse than what those older consoles did. I mean, the Wii is just trying to appeal to other audiences. And if you look at it from a professional standpoint, the Wii has made major strides over those older games and older consoles. It's just that they're losing some bits of their older audiences and gaining larger new audiences. So it's really kind of a difficult thing to look at from either perspective. But I said it before, and I am kind of biased to the older generation because there were a lot of great games back in those generations. A lot of games that people will never forget, no matter what. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Pinkamon asks, what's your opinion on the recent internet discussion that suggests that Nintendo has abandoned its hardcore audiences and only caters to casual players now? Well, I personally think that's completely untrue. I think that Nintendo is putting a bigger emphasis on the casual gamers, but, I mean, I wouldn't say they've forgotten their hardcore audiences. I mean, Super Mario Galaxy, that was a really great Mario game. And there was a really great Mario Kart game. I thought Twilight Princess was enjoyable. They're working on a new Metroid, which looks amazing. So yeah, I don't think that Nintendo has really forgotten about their hardcore audiences. They're just trying to bring newer audiences into the video game pool, which I think is fine. It's definitely a financial advantage, and if they have that advantage, that ensures that they could go a lot farther in the video game market. So it's just a matter of keeping that casual audiences, and then maybe making a few titles in the future that'll appeal to the hardcore gamers. I think it's just a process. We just have to wait and see how it unfolds. And I consider myself a hardcore gamer because I've been playing games since the SNES era. I've even played a few NES games. So I consider myself a hardcore gamer. And I'm completely satisfied with the Wii. I think the Wii is a great system. And even I can find myself enjoying those casual games. I thought Wii Sports was a very good packaged game for the Wii. I'm definitely finding other titles that I really enjoy. So really, yeah, I just think it's a process we just have to wait and see what happens. We can't really judge that Nintendo has completely abandoned their hardcore audiences because we really don't know what the future holds. So that's my input on the matter. Brother Egghead asks, was there anything in a video game that scared you as a child? Yes, when I was younger, I was very scared of Unagi the eel from Super Mario 64. For the longest time, I could not just get the courage to go down in the ocean and just get that star from its tail. I just could never do it. Like, I hated the eel so much. And that fear of the eel actually got me scared of several other things in other video games, especially when it came to water. So that eel held me back for a very long time. But now I can just like go up to the eel freely and steal its star and go, no big deal. But yeah, as a kid, that eel scared the heck out of me.